This is The Sports Life.
Mahalik one strike away from securing the victory. Base is clear, 2 down, 10-1 Buckeyes, top of 9, the 2-2. Check swing, he went around. Make room for the Buckeyes. For the first time in program history, Ohio State sweeps Nebraska.
Tyler Danberg, the voice of Ohio State baseball, an historic moment for the Buckeyes as they sweep Nebraska for the first time ever. And welcome into the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Schettler. And there you go, Dalton. Ohio State wins more than just football games.
Apparently. Everything's good in Columbus.
Well, our show today is interesting, and I think everybody listening is going to love it. We're being joined by Mike DeCourcy, 25 years with the Sporting News, the best writer for our money in all of college basketball. And, of course, he's a Hall of Fame writer. And you can also see his TV work on Fox and the Big Ten Network. We're going to talk about 3 really important things, Dalton. The expansion of the NCAA Tournament, that 5th year of eligibility, a new rule, and how endangered is Cinderella? Is she gone? Is she ever coming back?
It feels like it's past midnight, right? We're in the wee hours of the morning there.
I need a dance. Let's go. So that conversation with Mike should be informative as well as pretty entertaining. Now, as for the sounds of the week,
we got a couple of things. Look, Big Ten baseball's really ramping up down the home stretch, but the Big Ten softball regular season's already in the rearview mirror. They're on to the conference tournament, and since the regular season has concluded, we have a Big Ten champion. In Lincoln, Nebraska, the Cornhuskers win the regular season title this year, and here's the final call as they clinched it outright with the voice of the Huskers, Nate Rohr.
Clausewitz grounds to short. Cusack has it. Flips to Kamenzen in second. In time to force her out. And in time to secure the outright Big Ten championship in 2026. For the first time in 22 years, the Huskers are the outright conference champions.
Okay, Dalton, you ready for a true confession?
Let's hear it.
When we added the 4 teams on the West Coast, right?
Uh-huh.
Mainly UCLA and Southern Cal, but UCLA. I thought, man, if I'm a softball coach, this is over. This is over. Because one of those guys are going to win this thing every year.
No, I think that's fair. Well, and on baseball, we're kind of seeing that with UCLA being undefeated in Big Ten play. So it tracks. It's good logic, but that also goes to show just how good Rhonda Revelle, the head coach at Nebraska, has been throughout her entire time. So good, matter of fact, that they just named the softball field at Bullen Stadium after her. It is now Rhonda Revelle Field. They did that just a couple of weeks ago to show you just, again, how great she's been and how big of a fixture there. And matter of fact, we have a sound clip of her. This is her talking about winning the Big Ten championship, not so much about the moment of clinching it and winning it, but the celebration as the Huskers landed back at the airport back home in Nebraska.
That was really special. Now, you know, I've asked, did I know anything about that? Well, I'm a season ticket holder, and there was an email that went out, and I'm like, I don't want to read the email because I didn't want to be surprised. But then, you know, Jordy said, hey, my brother texted something about, I'm like, I don't know. And then our plane was delayed. And then when we got off the plane and we saw all the people up at the, you know, at Epley at the end of the ramp, honestly, that hit me emotionally, probably more than winning the game, you know, and clinching. And I think because, you know, we've talked all year about it's about the people. And those were people. Those were people that we played in front of, family, friends, fans. And there were connections there, and I saw a lot of our players with tears in their eyes. I got some tears in my eyes, and it was a testament again to why we're all in this together.
Well, in that universe, Dalton, can it get much better, really?
No.
I don't think so. Well, when we come back with more of the Sports Life, Hall of Famer's going to join us, Mike DeCourcy. We're talking hoops, and we're talking change. But first, this break.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
Medicaid and CHIP offer free or low-cost health coverage for children and teens. Hospital and doctor visits, prescriptions, shots, and more are covered. That's peace of mind for parents if a child is sick or gets injured. And parents may now be eligible for Medicaid too, even if they've applied in the past. Enrollment is always open. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 1-877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
If you have diabetes, listen up. If you have insurance, you can qualify for a continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends and spend more time in range, significantly lowering your A1C. More importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and if you've seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for your own CGM right now. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances will cover your CGM, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the Aptiva Medical CGM Health Hotline right now.
800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. 800-948-6912. That's 800-948-6912.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Roxanne Watson is on a mission.
Hello, how are you doing today?
She wants more people to register as organ, eye, and tissue donors.
Are you an organ donor?
Yes, I am.
Yay.
My goal is to sign up the most people in the United States.
What drives her? Roxanne's own life was saved through the gift of a heart transplant, made possible by an organ donor.
I decided that day that I was going to devote myself to the cause of organ donation and signing people up and honoring my donor by doing that.
Now she's back to health, and she's a powerful force helping to save lives every day through her work. Imagine what you can make possible by leaving behind the gift of life.
8 people can be helped with the major organs, and up to 50 people can be helped with a little bit of everything. And when you think about it that way, that you could help that many people, it's amazing. It really is.
Learn more and sign up as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. Go to organdonor.gov. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
And welcome back for more of The Sports Life. Will Tiemann here along with Dalton Shetler. And as we said at the beginning of the show, we have somewhat of a special presentation today. We're going to spend the day visiting with Mike DeCourcy, a Hall of Fame sports writer, and for our money, the best when it comes to talking about college basketball. Spent a lot of time with the sporting news. He's going to back off of that a little bit. Still active in Fox Sports and also on the Big Ten Network. So, Mike, thanks for joining us. And Mike has agreed to talk about 3 distinct things that are happening in college basketball, which Dalton and I think are kind of a big deal. And the first one is the new legislation, Mike, that deals with expanding eligibility to 5 years for student athletes. But with the 5 years, there's like no exception. It's 5 years and that's it. So why do you think they did that? And then we can talk about what you think about it.
Well, I think they did it as an overreaction to the idea of athletes coming into college athletics from other venues, like European basketball, European club basketball, for instance, some of them coming in well into their 20s and being designated freshmen because they had never indeed been to an institution of higher learning. Therefore, they are freshmen. And I think that this is an overreaction to that element, and it seems as well to be an overreaction to the idea that athletes want to be able to maximize their earnings in that collegiate window. And so, whereas in the past it had always been 4 years where they would theoretically be able to earn money, at the time, it was only cost of attendance and room and board and books, etc. But that they had the 4 years to do that. When it became real money, there was a little bit more impetus to try to stick around and earn as much of that as possible. And so more athletes began suing through various loopholes to try to get more eligibility. First, the junior, well, not necessarily chronologically first, but primarily the junior college loophole would be an example of that. The Diego Pavia explored and was able to get an extra year of college football at Vanderbilt as a result of that. Players also suing because they had different they had different approaches to their careers. The players who went to the G League first and then decided that it wasn't going anywhere, but then look, there's all this money to be made playing college hoops, so they went to try to get eligibility that way. So there are a lot of different aspects that they're trying to control under one piece of legislation, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's the legislation that's a bad thing.
Well, I was going to say, kind of following off of that, Mike, because, look, on one hand, I can appreciate a little bit of action and movement from the NCAA because it's been so much just in idle in fear of lawsuits to come against them potentially. But this feels like, with an absolute rule with no real nuance, it feels like it has some real issues. And you talked about a couple of them, but getting rid of medical red shirts. Look, I know this isn't the case for all student athletes or a majority even, but I've seen a player on the women's basketball side who's faced 3 straight season-ending injuries, and it just rounded out her 5th year. And with this new rule, it would just be, all right, well, see ya. Take care.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like there's that's the real way forward, a humane way forward for college athletics.
Exactly. My principal problem with this, beyond the fact that it's not negotiated, which of course it should be, given that the athletes that are participating are the ones who are being governed by this. They should have not just some committee somewhere where, oh, yeah, we heard them. No, like a real voice, a real action in this. The way, for instance, the 19-year age limit for the NBA draft has been around for 20 years now. And I've always been an ardent fan of that rule. But remember, it wouldn't exist if the NBA Players Association didn't say they were okay with it, that they approved it as part of the collective bargaining agreement. And there are various reasons why they did that, but it has existed because it was bargained. In this case, no one among the participants is getting a voice in this. So that's problematic. But the real problem is the one you mentioned, and that is that athletes who are now, remember, they're getting hurt on your watch. If you want to say, we're not giving any medical red shirts if you go out and break your leg skiing, I'm okay with that. Or you crash your motorcycle. Okay. But if I'm on your floor or field or ice, and I am acting out the things that you instruct me to do, whether it's in practice or in a game, and now, and as a product of that, I sustain an injury that basically removes a year of competition from my experience, and I get no understanding of that, no opportunity to rectify that. It's just too bad. That's awful. I mean, how anybody could sign off on such a rule is beyond me. I thought college athletics had a greater sense of heart than that, but they seem to be in such a big hurry to try to gain any kind of control that they're not even stopping to think about what the punishment would be.
Well, don't you think, Mike, over time, though, you've often wondered, do they think about the I always compared some of what you're talking about to this. We're parents, right? We have children. Would you do that to your son or daughter? I mean, do they ever think that way?
You would think that they would. And I've been in college athletics now for more than 40 years, covering college athletics closely. And that there always had been, for the most part, a sense of understanding. I mean, there's been some harshness and maybe even cruelty along the way. I remember writing a column about a player, I think at Illinois State, who had an injury. I think at that point the bar might have been a little lower in terms of how many games or how much a percentage of the season you were allowed to participate in, and he missed it by like 2 minutes, and they didn't grant any grace to him in getting him what would have been then, I believe, a 6th year of eligibility. So there have been some times when you thought they were a little harsh, but the medical hardship waiver itself was always a evidence of understanding among the NCAA membership and organization that sometimes sports can be cruel, that you can do everything you're supposed to do and your knee can give out on you. And sometimes life can be rough on you a little bit too. And you might get an illness that could keep you from competing. And it doesn't seem that there's any second opportunity for that either. I don't understand the push in this direction. It's like, well, we're giving you an extra year anyway, so if we take it away or it's taken away because of injury, well, now you're just back to where everybody else ever was. I don't think that's enough of a reasoning to go in this direction. And there's one more thing I don't like about it. I don't like the 5th year to begin with. It's not necessary. It's totally just to try to keep people out of the courtrooms. And again, if you were to find a way to negotiate with the athletes, perhaps that you wouldn't have to go and offer this bonus year to try to keep yourself out of court. Hey, 4 years was good enough for Patrick Ewing. It was good enough for Tim Duncan. It was good enough for Tony Dorsett. It was good enough for Mateen Cleaves. I think it's good enough for the next top 25 high school player.
I mean, that's a really fair point. And it's interesting to me, too, because, again, not to continue to point out the super minimal things that happen as a part of this, but, I mean, we always had fun stories, right, of like the obscure college kicker who's 30-some years old with a couple of kids, or Brandon Whedon, the quarterback. But as you go back to the beginning, you had said that this really is an effort to maybe try and prohibit some international players that are already playing at a professional ranks. They come over and they get to be freshmen right away. This doesn't seem like maybe the right way to actually put that into motion, but what would be? Do you have anything in mind that could discourage that type of behavior, and is it necessary?
Well, I think that the right way to do it is to find a way to negotiate it with the player pool and make it a 4-year, but with medical hardship waivers, the way it had been done for years. I think that's the best standard that you can have, but the best way to impose that standard is to find a way to negotiate. They haven't even tried. I mean, I know that there is no one specific body right now that represents all the athletes. I get that. But part of the reason there isn't one is because those on the management side have not done anything to try to encourage that organization.
Well, before we go on to our next topic, Mike, we've touched on getting sued. Is somebody going to sue them over this one?
I suspect they will. Yes, I suspect they will. The athlete, especially the athlete who either becomes injured or ill, and loses competition as a result, I think that athlete will do that. I wouldn't be surprised if there also were some. I mean, the one athlete that I know of that came in at a fairly advanced age, Mihailo Petrovic, I think he was 23 when he came to play for Illinois. Did not have great success with the Illini in part because of Keaton Wagler's emergence, and also because of a preseason injury he sustained. But that athlete, not Mihailo necessarily, but the next Mihailo might also take them to court as well. It probably wouldn't be someone coming from Europe, but it might be someone coming from the United States that has a different story to tell.
Well, when we continue our conversation with Mike DeCourcy, after the break, we're going to talk about expanding the NCAA men's basketball tournament. It's all coming up in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad, did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender.
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna ask.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
This is a potter's field. When people can't pay for their funerals, they are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. 800-562-2407. That's 800-562-2407. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again?
And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Here's a real-life story that affects 50% of all of us out there. It's called divorce. If you've gotten divorced and now you're struggling to pay your bills and your credit card debts are completely out of control, you need to call this special debt relief hotline right now. We help people with all kinds of money problems caused by different life challenges, a divorce, a job loss, even heavy medical bills. All these life events can sometimes financially stress you out and cause you to get out of control. We help people get their lives back by showing them ways to consolidate and reduce their debt, in some cases for a fraction of what they owe. If your credit card balances are more than $10,000, call us and learn how to reduce your credit card bills and monthly payments now. Here's our number.
Paid for by Debt.com. Call now, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584, 800-810-1584. That's 800-810-1584.
And welcome back from more of the Sports Life. Will Team here along with Dalton Shetler. We're being visited today with Mike DeCourcy, Hall of Fame writer, and we're talking about college basketball in particular with this segment. And we're going to talk about the expansion of the NCAA Tournament. And Mike, I hate to say this, I guess I'm kind of old school. I'm kind of not a participation trophy kind of guy. So expanding this tournament, before I ask you what you think about it, why are we doing it? Why are we even talking about it?
Well, I believe it was generated by the idea that as the major conferences grew from 12 teams roughly, depending on the league, to 18 or more teams, depending on the league, that there was a concern that the competition would find a way to restrict the number of teams from those conferences that enter the NCAA tournament. And I understood that concern. I didn't think it was going to come to fruition, but I understood the concern. I mean, it's your business. You need those teams in there to both continue to succeed competitively, but also for economic purposes. So I understood it. And it was literally blown to smithereens the first time that we had the conferences in their expanded states. The SEC went into the 24-25 season, dominated non-conference competition, especially versus the SEC, and earned 14 bids out of the 16 teams in their league, and that was not earned in bulk terms, but also they had multiple teams seated at the very top of the bracket, and 2 of them advanced to the Final Four. So the question was answered with 2,000 exclamation points. Of course that they'll have enough opportunity to earn bids in the league. Right now, they're getting nearly all that between the Power Five, including the Big East. They're getting nearly all of the at-large bids that were awarded, both in 25 and 26. And I've been on record many times as saying, why? Because they have most of the best players, most of the best coaches, most of the best teams. That's what people don't want to hear, that want to believe that it should be some sort of charity deal. But that's the reality. They have most of the best players, most of the best coaches, and most of the best teams. And that's been true. That was true long before they had the greatest investment as well. That was long before they had the greatest investment in terms of roster components, et cetera. But the idea that we need to continue along this line is so far down the tracks now that no one seems willing to abandon it, even though the true impetus toward it has been eliminated. The ACC didn't get 4 bids or whatever they got in 25 because there weren't enough bids available. It was because they weren't very good. I mean, they really weren't very good. And that was shown on the floor over and over again. Now, Duke was, but the rest of the league was very poor. And so they got better in 26. And what happened? Miraculously, they got way more bids. They got basically twice as many bids as they'd gotten the year before. It wasn't about narrative, which is what they tried to say. And it wasn't about that they were beating up on each other or any of that other nonsense. It's just they got better. And so they got more bids. Now what we're seeing is a tremendous effort by those who are advancing this cause to try to justify it economically. And what I believe, and I don't have evidence of this, but my strong belief, based on my experience and my knowledge of how college athletics works, is that when the expansion is inevitably announced, at some point subsequent to that, or perhaps in conjunction with that, but at some point it will be announced that Turner and CBS will have their contracts extended. Right now it expires in 2032. As of now, that payout is around $1.1 billion per year from Turner and CBS to the NCAA, which is then dispersed to the membership. Almost all of it, like more than 90% of it, is then dispersed to the membership. And so what they'll do is they'll extend that contract. And what's interesting about that is that if you talk to television media executives, those who make a living either in that business or analyzing that business, they'll tell you that even now at that $1.1 billion figure, the NCAA tournament is probably being undervalued. There's a lot of complaint about the fact that Mark Emmert extended that deal in 2016 when he was in charge. His NCAA extended that deal with Turner and CBS when there might have been more money available now to everyone if it had been up for open competition. And the extension of that contract then will essentially be at what might be below market rates. Why would CBS and Turner pay now for 12? Actually, it would be 8 more games that they know won't sell. They have 15, 16 years of data that says that their audiences for those games will be around 2 million a game at best. The numbers may go a little higher because you're involving more high major teams, but when I say higher, I mean I'm generously estimating at 2 million. They've never averaged that. They usually average about 1.8 for the first 4 games. So the public has said, we really aren't all that interested in this. But the people pushing the 76 team field are saying, we want 76 teams and we want you to pay the same price for these dozen more games that you're paying now for the 67 games that we currently have. So 2 to 3 million per game is what they're paying. And so now they'd have to pay that not just for the 4 extra games in the first 4, but for a dozen extra games. It's not a good deal for CBS and Turner. But if they get an extension at maybe a reduced price, so to speak, then it's a great deal.
Well, Mike, I think one of the things that's really interesting about this, too, in terms of the context and the power, look, I mean, we're talking about with the NCAA, and maybe there's some unsatisfactory opinions about the extension they had there, as you're talking about with the TV deal. And we're talking about, this kind of piggybacks off a conversation we had with Eben Novy-Williams in the last couple of weeks. The Big Ten and SEC now are just about equal, if not in some respects even passing the NCAA in terms of revenue. I mean, it just came out last week. The Big Ten distributed $1.37 billion from the 24-25 season to its membership schools. How much of this is these conferences have this much power equal to or more than the NCAA, and they want to make sure their membership schools are able to get a piece of the pie at the end of the day.
But they already have the pie. That was my point, is that there was a potentially legitimate concern about whether they would be able to continue to have the access to the NCAA tournament that they had, I shouldn't say always had, but that they had recently had as they continued to grow in prominence.
And forgive me then, Mike, because then what I'm trying to ask, if I reshape it, is that they want more, that they want to get up to 16 bids out of the conferences. That's what I meant, that they want even more than what they currently have, which is a big slice.
Well, yeah, but here's why this is not good business, okay? Because if you get more at this price and you eliminate the possibility of a vastly enhanced economic package for the NCAA tournament. You look at what the Amazon people are paying Duke for a handful, less than a handful of non-conference games over the next few years with their exclusive deal. What would they have been willing to pay? What would Netflix have been willing to pay for the NCAA tournament? How much money would have been available? I think it's possible that at the end of 2032, probably it would have been negotiated in advance 2031 so that we'd know what it would be in 2033. I think they could have come close to doubling it and maybe more. And I don't think that if I'm right that they extend this deal, they won't come close to doubling it. So what they're doing is they are getting short money in the near term and eliminating the possibility of getting a massive payday in the far term. And so you can get Indiana in the field after they lost twice to Northwestern in the final couple of weeks when they knew bids were on the line. I just don't see the value of that. And I know what the penalty of this will be. Not just what I talked about economically, but also the diminishment of the product in terms of the end of the regular season. Like at the end of this past regular season, there was legitimate pressure on Indiana to win those games. And that created interesting, compelling television programming. This game means something, this Northwestern Indiana game. It means something. If Indiana wins it, they've got a shot to make the field. If that game had happened in the 76 team era, Indiana could have sent out their second string and just said, we don't really want to waste any effort on trying to win this game because we're so safely in this tournament, in the NCAA tournament, that maybe one of our star players could get hurt against Northwestern, so we won't even really play. I mean, they could. I mean, they wouldn't, but they could conceivably do that because that's how safely they would have been in to a 76-team field. There would have been at minimum 4 teams behind them, even though with a bid on the line, they had 2 games against Northwestern, a sub-500 team, in the final 3 weeks of the season and couldn't win either.
So, Mike, if the money doesn't work out to its potential, why do this thing, really?
Because they're not looking about potential. They're looking at short-term, relatively small payouts, and it's stunning to me that they would do this, given what little reward there is. I mean, it's funny for me, right, to be sitting here talking about $3 million is not a great reward, but it's not relative to the damage they're doing. They're looking at the possibility of getting a few more teams in the field and a few more $1 million when they're damaging the NCAA tournament product. People will be less engaged. I talk all the time about the importance of the bracket. The bracket all fitting on one page, especially when it was 64, but even when it was 68, that really helped accelerate the growth of March Madness. It helps to have been around in the 70s when I was a kid. It helps to have been around to understand what it was and what it is now. Because when I was a kid, and I was a Notre Dame fan when I was a kid because my family was Irish Catholic, and that's kind of how I was brought up. Plus, that's all the basketball just about you could watch in the regular season were Notre Dame games that were syndicated by TBS, and maybe in specific areas. Like if you grew up in Indiana, I'm sure there were Indiana games on TV. But in Western Pennsylvania, you got Notre Dame. So they're playing in the Sweet 16 against Michigan. It's John Shoemate and Adrian Dantley against Campy Russell. And I can't see it. Can you imagine that now? Well, that's how far we've come, and we've come that far because of the bracket. And I just think that with a dozen games, going from 4 to 12 games, I just can't imagine that person who is not super invested in college basketball is going to allow themselves to become super invested in the tournament because they got a team, they've got a bracket in the pool, and watching the various games that are played on Thursday and Friday. I just don't think that the passion for that will be the same in the future in the 76-team universe.
Well, if we get to 2 pages, Mike, that's one more page I can lose because I always lose my bracket. Well, we come back with more of our chat with Mike DeCourcy. We're going to talk about Cinderella, or lack of. But first, this break.
So, got one for you, boss.
Oh, yeah?
What's black, white, and dented all over?
I give up.
The company truck. I know, but thanks to our agent, we've already submitted an insurance claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Lucky for you, that's simple human sense.
Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you.
If you served honorably in our nation's armed forces and you're looking for a way to continue serving your fellow veterans in your community, then join AMVETS. AMVETS members volunteer millions of hours at VA healthcare facilities from coast to coast, helping to improve the lives of their fellow veterans through the VA Voluntary Services Program. AMVETS posts and departments also participate in a wide variety of community service projects. If you no longer wear the uniform today, you can still serve through the AMVETS by joining today at amvets.org.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-965-1292. 800-965-1292. That's 800-965-1292.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
Did you receive a call or message that mentioned Social Security and demanded immediate action? Did the caller know your social security number or other personal information and tell you that your social security number had been used in connection with the crime? Did you feel worried that your social security number might be suspended, your bank account might be frozen or seized, or you could be arrested? That is not the Social Security Administration. Social Security will not threaten you, demand your personal information, or instant payment, email or text you pictures or documents, or use a real government official's name to gain your trust. Social Security does not accept payments by gift card, prepaid debit card, internet currency, or by mailing cash. Criminals use these forms of payment because they are hard to trace. Do not be fooled. Hang up. Ignore them. Report this criminal activity to the Social Security Administration Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
And welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team here along with Dalton Shetler. We're having a very engaging conversation with Hall of Fame writer Mike DeCourcy. We've talked about the new 5 years of eligibility with Mike. We've talked about expanding the NCAA tournament from 68 to maybe 76. And all of that gets us to something that's a little sentimental with me, and I'm guessing Mike and Dalton as well. As we continue to move towards power conferences, maybe less of the movement of players, or more of the movement of players, I should say. It seems like all this in combinations is wrecking one of the great moments of the NCAA basketball tournament, and that's Cinderella. Valparaiso, Oakland, you can go through a whole bunch of these guys, and it seems like that was obviously not part of last year's tournament. So, Mike, is Cinderella gone? Is she endangered, never to return?
Well, I think it's limited, but I think there are multiple reasons for it. It obviously begins with the number of mid-major players that climb levels in search of a payday. That's particularly true of veteran mid-major players, guys who might be accomplished juniors or seniors that now have the opportunity to make a lot of money playing at another school at a high major level. So it impacts them for sure. But we still see games that are won. I mean, we saw Wisconsin lose to High Point. We saw Kentucky against Santa Clara. Did it really matter that Kentucky won? Wasn't that the same experience for everyone but the Santa Clara players and fans, to have them control that game, to have it go down to basically a miraculous buzzer beater to tie and then go to overtime? I felt the same way watching that game that I would have watching any of the other 12-5 games in the past, something like that, because you had a very compelling game where it would have been a monumental upset. And so I still feel it's like it's out there. It's going to be less, but one of my objections to the expansion of the NCAA tournament, like I've been opposed to the whole thing for the longest time, and I didn't think it could possibly get worse. But Matt Norlander at CBS's reporting revealed that the instead of just adding, as I mentioned before, instead of just adding 4 more games and make it the first 8, they're going to add 8 more games and make it what I call the dirty dozen. It's instead of allowing those teams that you're allowing into the field to basically play off against one another to enter the 64-team bracket, they are dragging the entirety of the 16-team pool into play-in games, so to speak, and some of the 15s. And so that will damage the ability of these upsets to happen, because it's likely, although I'm not sure exactly how these will be bracketed, it's likely that teams that were on the 12 line in the past might be compressed down to 13s, and teams that were 13s be compressed to 14s. And so the ability to win the game, like for instance, High Point, instead of playing this year, you were playing Wisconsin, maybe you're playing Alabama or Arkansas, and maybe those teams are more difficult to defeat than Wisconsin was. So High Point loses instead of wins. And so then even the small number of upsets that we did have, or near upsets that we did have in this year's NCAA tournament, becomes even fewer. And that's another concern with the whole expansion concept, is that it makes the whole Cinderella concept even more difficult to pull off.
Well, and I think, Mike, this is one of the big things, too, because it does go hand in hand, it feels like, with the expansion conversation for the future, because it feels like it's going to weed it out more and more, as you said, maybe compressing it before it really gets into that field of 64, so on and so forth. I want to ask you, I mean, if we're talking about really hampering and dying off the Cinderella, where we had no mid-majors this last year, and it doesn't look necessarily bright for the future. It can exist, but certainly seldomly. We're talking about killing maybe the novelty of bracket pools, especially the way everybody's become accustomed to. What is the romance that still lives with the NCAA tournament? It feels like a lot of the really passionate things, emotional connections that we have, are going by the wayside. What is there to cling on to?
Well, I think for those of us who love the sport, it will sort of rescue a lot of what we're losing. For those of us who really love the sport, a great Sweet 16 game, a great Elite 8 game like the UConn Duke game this past year wasn't a great game, but the great finish that we had, the memorable finish, that's still going to be there. And one of the things that is not discussed enough is the fact that the players are being compensated now is now encouraging more athletes to remain in college competition longer. So the basketball is better. Between the idea of the rules being properly enforced, which they were throughout this regular season, and then throughout the tournament until the Final Four level, where there was massive slippage, I thought the officials across the board did a very poor job at the Final Four in terms of encouraging the game to be played the way it should be played. We saw it throughout the tournament. The freedom of movement concept that John Adams talked about, the late John Adams, who was the NCAA coordinator of officials for about a decade, a good friend of mine. He talked about that and fought for that, and ultimately we have won that battle. The ridiculous charges that were awarded even 5 to 7 years ago are gone from the game. The idea that you could pound on players as they went through the lane, gone from the game. For the most part, as I said, it wasn't well done in the NCAA Final Four, but it was done well through the tournament, through the regular season. So the basketball has better players and it's being better played. So that's what keeps the NCAA tournament great. But the number of people who appreciate that, I don't think it'll grow if you make it so easy to get into the NCAA tournament that 17 and 16 Auburn gets in just because they played a lot of hard teams. And that's if you're remotely competent and you play 17 hard games, and like winning 4 of them is no great achievement, but that would have gotten Auburn into this year's field, finishing 17 and 16. That's what they're opening the door for. And I don't think anybody's going to respect that. So that part of the NCAA tournament, people will get disappointed in or angry at. But by the time we get to the second round or the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 or the Final Four, it's just still going to be hoop played at a really high level and played at a very entertaining level.
Well, Mike, we've talked a lot of strategy. We've talked a lot of opinions. We've talked a lot of misdirection maybe by the NCAA. What we have not talked about is Mike DeCourcy. Oh. After over a quarter of a century at the Sporting News, you're backing off a little bit. What brought that on?
Well, about 3 years ago, my wife and I were living in Indianapolis suburbs, which we loved. We loved it in Fishers, Indiana. We loved living in Indy. It was a great decade there. But all of our family is here in the Pittsburgh area, and we decided it was time, after being gone for 30 years. We're both Pittsburgh natives, and we decided it was time to get back. And so my wife retired a little bit ahead of schedule in 2024, and we moved back. And so part of that plan was that I would eventually take the opportunity to spend more time with her. One year, guys, I this was several years ago, so the number's probably even higher now. But I sleep pretty well most nights, but one night I wasn't going to sleep, so I started to calculate how much time on the boxing beat in my 20s, covering Penn State football back then, covering the SEC and Memphis when I was there, and then covering the Cincinnati Bearcats, and then the national beat at the Sporting News, all the travel that I've done, the Olympics, a World Cup, how much time I've been away. I literally have spent more than 5 years of my marriage on the road. And that's never been, that's a lot of time to spend away from her. And I don't know, maybe that's been good for her because she didn't have to be around me. But she says she wants me to be around more, so I'm going to listen to her. So there'll be less travel as a result, and more opportunity to spend more days with her instead of being at my desk. So that's a huge part of it as well.
And so I'm assuming we'll still see on the Big Ten Network, we'll still see on Fox Sports as well.
Well, that's my hope, and I did communicate prior to my announcement with both networks, and the initial response was good. So I'm hopeful that I'll be back in those two places next year. And one of the reasons that I want to continue there and want to continue some association with the Sporting News, this is true. I have worked at those places for a combined 55 years of service at those three places. And in all that time, one colleague that was a boss, but one working colleague that I wouldn't cherish. I mean, that's how wonderful the people have been at all three of those places. No one should be that lucky to hit. I mean, I've never won the Powerball, but how much more lottery luck can you have than to have 55 years worth of colleagues at the Sporting News, Big Ten Network, and Fox Sports, and only one that you didn't cherish? It's been an amazing experience at all three places.
Well, Mike, as always, it's great speaking with you. Hope you have a wonderful summer, and I know we'll see you somewhere along the way.
Absolutely, Will. It's great to talk to you.
So there you go, some of the thoughts of Mike DeCourcy, Hall of Fame writer. And if you want the goods about college basketball, he's your guy. Back with more in just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Dad. Did you get a new haircut or something? A new shirt? You're looking good.
What happened?
A little fender bender?
How little?
A few days in the shop little. But thanks to Mom and our agent, we've already submitted a claim and can track the status right from the app. Auto Owners pays what they owe without any hassle.
Sounds like simple human sense.
I'm fine, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask.
Ask your independent agent if Auto Owners makes sense for you.
Everything is expensive right now. Gas, food, you name it. You're spending more, you are making the same or less money. So, what do? You rack up credit card debt. That's what you do. It's not your fault. It's the economy. And guess what? If you rack up too much credit card debt like some of us, you can't pay your bills. Then the credit card companies, as nice as they are, start hounding you for money. Then you start your downward spiral. A smart thing for you to do is to call the Zero Debt. They can help you consolidate all your credit card bills into one affordable payment. Millions of people have done it. It works to make you debt-free. Make this free call right now. It costs you nothing to learn more.
800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. 800-298-9093. That's 800-298-9093.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope. Furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
We'll be back with more in a moment. This is The Sports Life.
I found hope in the midst of an overwhelming situation.
Alcoholism is a disease that can affect any family. Everyone suffers, but there is help and hope at Al-Anon Family Groups.
Al-Anon gave me my life back. I'm a better father and husband.
Are you in an overwhelming situation because of someone else's drinking? Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Local and virtual meetings are available. Maybe one could work for you. Call 1-866-200-0033 or visit alanon.org/hope.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player. No matter the challenges I face every day in the NFL, my mom is always there for me, despite her own struggles with muscular dystrophy. And MDA is there for my mom. At their 150 care centers across the U.S., MDA is the leading organization in research and care for kids and adults with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and related neuromuscular diseases. Join me and learn more at helpmda.org today. Thank you.
Welcome back for more of the Sports Life. We'll team in here along with Dalton Shetler. And don't forget, auto owners insurance, simple human sense. Ask your independent agent if auto owners make sense for you. What a great visit with Mike DeCourcy on some major topics involving college basketball. And with that, we have now worked our way to our parting shots. What do you got, Dalton?
Oh, and by the way, if you missed any of that conversation with Mike DeCourcy, give us a follow at Sports Life Now on Twitter or X. That's again at Sports Life Now. We'll have everything posted back there. But for my parting shot, I'm actually heading over to volleyball in the Big Ten, and you'll know why in a moment. Because, of course, Nebraska's got a pretty big fan base, right? And they've done some pretty cool things. They've played outdoors at Memorial Stadium. Penn State, of course, is a powerhouse as well. Those two are colliding August 27th, heading to Jerry World. AT&T Stadium, the home of the Dallas Cowboys, welcoming in Penn State, Nebraska volleyball. And if that doesn't just go to benchmark and show you the growth of that sport and this league in that sport, I mean, that's huge.
Think about it. A Midwest conference in theory, and those two are kind of Midwest, right? They could fill that place.
Sure could.
Unbelievable. It's like the Super Bowl of volleyball.
That's right.
Before you get to the Super Bowl. Anyway, well, my parting shots aren't as upbeat as Dalton's. In talking with Mike DeCourcy, we talked about the NCAA Tournament expansion. For me, I'm saddened by that because I think we're diminishing the product. Like I said earlier in the show, I don't believe in participation trophies, not at this level. 5 years of eligibility with no wiggle room, no what-ifs, no gray area when it's called for. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And Cinderella, if you don't have Cinderella, that's worse than having a bracket with 2 pages. You got to have Cinderella to make this thing keep going. And with that, that wraps up our show for this week, and sure appreciate everybody joining us. And we should also note that you can find us wherever you find your podcasts, like SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple. And make sure to check us out and hit subscribe. As always, thanks to the Big Ten Network. And the Sports Life is produced by Dalton Shetler. Our executive producer is Wendy Hart. So on behalf of Dalton, I'm Will Tiemann, and thanks for your time.